Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Millions of Americans visit the doctor each year complaining of low energy. In the show today, Bob and Rollie talk about how to increase energy the natural way. They go over the major factors that can cause low energy and chronic fatigue, including the concept of being overfed but undernourished. Bad habits can drain energy and kill motivation. Bob and Rollie use tapping and tiny habits to illustrate how you can break avoidance strategies that are holding you back and replace them with new ones that help you be your best you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Hello everyone, welcome to Live Forever Young Radio. I'm Bob Gilpatrick. I'm here with Rollie Culp with his awesome Tampa Bay Buccaneers red hat on.
That's right.
Goes well with his blue Boomers Forever Young shirt.
It doesn't really match, but we still got to represent.
Welcome, Rollie.
Hey, Bob.
So, Rollie, we have a lot of energy ourselves, right? Because we are the Boomers Forever Young team, right? Two of the 12 people that work at Boomers Forever Young.
Right.
We use Boomer products.
Correct.
We know exactly what we want to do every day. We're focused on our goals. We're happy. We have great people around us.
Yes.
And so we have plenty of energy almost all the time.
Almost.
But that's not true with everybody. We know that when people go for a visit to their doctor, between 5 and 10% of the time, the main reason they're going is they're low in energy.
And, you know, I was actually looking at the same thing. There's about 10 to 20% of the people that come, that's actually their second complaint. So they're there maybe because they have high blood pressure, but then their energy is the second reason why they're there. So you could see that this is costing us a lot of money. If you actually look, there's some numbers that say employers, it costs them about $136 billion in missed work and time because of low energy and chronic fatigue, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of lost productivity.
And this is a time when we really need to be on our A game, right? Because this is the beginning of 2021. Mm-hmm. Everybody went through all the trying times of 2020.
Yeah, especially with the last year we went through.
And a lot of people are pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
They are starting new careers. They're looking at, how am I going to survive working at home? Mm-hmm. I have to pivot to also become a teacher to my children.
Mm-hmm.
And pivoting to newness requires you to be on your A game.
Right. Well, like we just mentioned, the pandemic and everything that happened in 2020, it really, what it did is for a lot of people, it exposed their weaknesses. So because now they've seen what they need help in, they can actually make the pivot to try to get better, whether it's health, whether it's finance, whatever it is. If you had a weakness, 2020 showed you what it was. So now that we know that, we can move forward. And to do that, you got to have energy. You know, you can't move forward and go and be the best you can be if you're crawling around on the floor because you're tired.
Right. Dragging yourself around.
Yeah.
You don't want to be dragging yourself out of bed and dragging yourself around.
No,
you want to be able to get up. You want to be able to start your day with energy, get focused right away. And the whole time you're awake and working, being with your family, you want to have really great energy.
Yeah.
So
it's a necessity. Like, one of the things that I get a lot of questions when people call, because, you know, to be honest with you, I'd say about 50% of the people that call in, because one of the products we have called Boomer Boost is really great at helping create energy. They ask me, how do I do this? How do I do it? How do I get my energy up and keep it up? Well, obviously you got to have supplementation. A lot of people don't get what they need. But the other part is keeping the focus and having your ability to look towards another challenge without being discouraged. And, you know, when you're low on energy, you definitely can't do that.
Right. And so energy has many aspects to it, right? There's the aspect of just physical, chemical energy from the food that you eat, but people also get energy from light. People get energy from pulsed electromagnetic fields.
Right.
People get energy from oxygen, which they're breathing.
Yep.
And then people have the whole flow of chi, or life force energy, going through their body.
Yes, that's true.
But if we start first with the chemical energy aspect, human beings are aerobic life, and we are beings that make proteins
Correct.
to keep ourselves alive.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this in the anti-aging show we did.
Right. We did. Exactly. And so in order for us to have energy, we have to make the universal molecule of energy, ATP.
Right, adenosine triphosphate.
And it's made in our mitochondria,
Yes.
which are the little powerhouses of the cell.
Right.
And so there's anywhere between, say, 10 and 300 of these mitochondria in each cell, depending. There's more in your heart cells.
Right.
It needs a lot of energy. And these little powerhouses are making the ATP, and the way they make it is in a metabolic pathway called the Krebs Cycle. And what it's doing is it's converting your macronutrients when you take in proteins and carbohydrates, and it's converting it into ATP in this metabolic pathway, and it requires micronutrients,
Right.
including B vitamins,
Right, and it also requires the CoQ10.
coenzyme Q10. And so if people are low in these nutrients, they're going to have a very hard time making enough ATP.
Right, so they're going to get tired.
Exactly. And it leads us to the concept that most people that are having low energy are also overfed but undernourished.
Right, and actually that happens a lot in our country because, well, there's many factors. A couple of the big ones are the fact that you're getting food from a grocery store, and not only is the food a genetically modified organism, which we talked a little bit about on a show we did called Are Fruits and Vegetables Less Nutritious Now? And there's actually studies done by the University of Texas that shows that not only is the soil deplete, because over the time of farming and using the soil, all the nutrients that would feed the plant from, they eat from the light, but they also need nutrients in the soil. And if they're grown without it, you can't get those nutrients in your body, which is necessary. And they also show that with these type of issues, you have the GMO, the genetically modified organisms, who are bred to withstand certain conditions. And in that breeding, they breed out a lot of the good stuff, right? And so because of that, you can eat food, but not get the nutrients. And then you've got all the processed foods. You've got fast food. You've got trans fats. You've got, Cheetos.
That's causing inflammation.
Exactly. So
And they're empty calories. And so they say that by the year 2030, that 60% of the people in the United States will be obese. Now, obese is worse than overweight.
Right.
Already more than 60% of the people in the country are overweight. And now they're saying that it's moving further and further towards 60% will actually be obese. And these are people that are overfed and undernourished.
Right.
And so what we need to realize is that you have to be able to make energy so that you're not constantly hungry and constantly eating more and more food.
Correct.
Right? And in order to do that, your body has to be well nourished. And that's where Boomers Forever Young Nutrition Company specializes in, is giving people fundamental nutrition, comprehensive nutrition that includes the B vitamins and coenzyme Q10,
Right.
so that you can convert the food you eat into energy, and you end up eating the right amount of food so you don't become overweight or obese, and you have plenty of energy.
Yeah, and in this way too, the way it was actually formed is in the right ratio, so you don't have to guess at what to put together with the 20 different bottles of pills on top of the refrigerator, and did I forget to take it? And you just do one scoop, and in the Boomer Boost anyway, there's the 70 nutrients, including what we were talking about, coenzyme Q10, vitamin B's, and all those, that actually will work with the Krebs cycle,
Yes.
the cycle to create the ATP.
And that's why people feel more energy right away.
Yeah, that's one of the best things we hear about Boomer Boost in particular is, man, I can't believe how much energy this gave me in the first day or two.
Yes. So now assume then people are taking in the right nutrition. They're not overeating. Their Krebs cycle begins to work. You also have to pay attention to your digestion.
Right.
And
If
so
you're not digesting properly, you can't pull the nutrients out of the food.
Exactly. Worse than that, undigested food arriving in your small intestine is treated as an allergen or a pathogen and can create disease. So you want to make sure that first you chew your food really well, and you want to take digestive enzymes as you get older. So after the age of 35 or 40, people start making less digestive enzymes for their stomach.
Right.
And so you can take pills that have those digestive enzymes, and now the fully digested food will arrive at the next stop along the way, your small intestine.
Right. Now, before we move on from that, a lot of people don't really realize that the digestive process starts the minute you put the food in your mouth.
Even before. When you smell food cooking, your mouth begins to make digestive enzymes.
You've seen those those cartoons where the Wile E. Coyote smells a pot roast being cooked in his mouth. Yeah, you're right. It starts before that.
Right. And so, but there are digestive enzymes and bacteria in your mouth that digest food.
Right.
And so that's why you want to chew your food really well.
Right.
It's breaking down
That's what I was getting to.
So that when it arrives in your stomach, it's easier to digest.
Yeah, don't just wolf it down. Chew it, enjoy it, savor it.
Exactly right. And so the next part is you want to be able to absorb the nutrients.
Correct.
And most of which are being absorbed in your small intestine.
Okay.
Not all. Some actually gets absorbed in your stomach, and some gets absorbed in your large intestine as well. Each part of your alimentary canal has its own function.
Okay.
But the majority of your nutrients are absorbed by these little hairs called villi that are in your small intestine.
Yeah, the little fingers they pull. Like
Right.
I think I forget what show we mentioned it on, but we were talking about if your digestion, the plaque coats these fingers over sometimes.
As you get older,
Right.
the naturally occurring mucus in your small intestine can turn to plaque.
Right.
And it can smother the villi. And if the villi are smothered, you're not going to absorb nutrition very well. So we actually have a product, Rollie, that is our Gladiator barley product and our heirloom barley.
Yes.
That has a compound SOD in it that can actually move that plaque along and help to revitalize the villi so you can absorb nutrients like you were much, much younger.
Right, and the idea of not being able to digest the food is another part of the overfed but malnourished issue.
Yes, exactly. And lack of absorption leads to the need for more food because your body feels like it needs more nutrients.
Any nutrients.
And so the absorption is really important.
Right.
The next part to that is circulation. So once you've absorbed the nutrients, it's in your bloodstream, and later we'll talk about the breath. You're breathing in oxygen, which ends up in your bloodstream, and it has to be circulated to all of the cells of your body, including to the far ends of your periphery and up into your brain.
Right.
And
your microcirculatory vessels as well.
Yes.
Like we talked about.
Which is 75% of your whole circulation.
Right. We had actually talked very in depth about the circulatory microcirculation system in the show we did called The Importance of Circulation for Your Health with Anne.
Yes.
So if you want to hear in detail, there's some pretty cool facts about how long that system really is. Check that show out. But that delivery system of nutrients and oxygen is actually the key here. Because if you've got all this great stuff, but it's not getting to where it needs to go, it isn't going to do any good.
You won't be able to make the ATP.
Exactly.
Because you won't have, you won't be absorbing into the cell.
Right.
The B vitamins, the CoQ10, and so you won't be able to execute the
You can't
Krebs Cycle.
manufacture that.
This is all part of energy.
Right.
And the production of energy via your Krebs cycle involves all of these things we've been talking about so far.
Synergy.
Yeah. So here's another thing that is really good for people to know is if you are someone who's low in energy, what type of tests would and should your doctor be getting for you to see why it is that you have low energy?
Oh, they don't just have an energy test you take?
Well, there's not really, no. There's many that you have to get.
Right.
And so we'll name them here. One is C-reactive protein.
Right.
If people are eating too many processed foods and fried foods, your inflammation is going to be very high and you're going to have low energy. If you have high iron or low iron, you're going to have low energy.
Right.
Not enough iron, you won't have enough oxygen to your cells. Too much iron, and your mitochondria that are making ATP are going to get damaged by a reactive oxygen species that's created from a byproduct of the Krebs cycle. And when it meets up with iron, it creates a free radical that damages your mitochondria, and you're going to end up with low energy. So you need to know if your iron's too high or too low.
Right, because if you have that issue, your iron is in the blood. Your mitochondria is right there. You have these issues right around the same thing. They're going to damage the mitochondria, which is your manufacturing center for the energy. So if you're taking out the factory, you're not going to be able to make the energy. And while we're on like important tests, I was actually talking to a lady on the phone, and this is a lady, I think, you heard about, So she was taking our products for a while, a couple months, and she said, I'm still low in energy, still low on energy. And we had asked her at the very beginning if she'd got her D3 level checked. And she hadn't got it checked, but she knew that she wasn't, in the best health and wasn't eating great, so she wanted to just start with the products. 3-4 months go by, she calls us and she says, this isn't working. I don't understand what's going on. I hear everybody gets energy. We asked her if she got the D3 checked. She had not. She got it checked. She was like...
It was below 20.
It was like... it was like...
It's below 20.
Like 18.
Yeah, which is really, really low.
That's super low.
And almost everyone's going to have very low energy if your vitamin D is that low.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's another test that you want to get, is the D3 test. You also want to make sure you get your sugar level checked.
Oh, got to check that, yeah.
Fluctuating and high levels of sugar can cause low energy. So you want to get your sugar level checked for that day you go for the test, but also get your A1C, which is your sugar level approximately over the course of about a 3-month period.
Right. That's
so it's
very
important to get both those tests. The other big reason why people get low in energy is thyroid problems. So if you have a thyroid problem, you could be very, very low in energy, and so you need to get your thyroid checked. So you have to get your TSH, your T4, T3.
Wait, what was that again?
Checked. TSH,
okay.
Thyroid stimulating hormone. Then T4 and T3 are also hormones that are created by a conversion process.
Okay.
Now, what we see quite often is if someone has a thyroid test and they have plenty of TSH, but they're very low in T3 or in T4, what it usually means is they're malnourished because it takes 8 different substrates to make one of those conversions, and it takes 12 substrates to make the second conversion.
Gotcha.
To make sure you have enough T3 in your cells. Now, luckily, all of those substrates that help with the conversion of your thyroid hormones are in Boomer Boost.
There you go.
Right, and that's another reason why people feel energy when they take Boomer Boost.
Yeah, they start getting stuff that they haven't gotten from the regular diet, they
have more T3.
Yeah, and so it's actually a good thing, man.
Lastly, on the thyroid issue, we've seen this here at our office, is people can get those tests done, but they might still be tired. And that's when you need to go back and check your reverse T3.
Okay.
So reverse T3 acts like a blocking mechanism.
Okay.
So if your cell has enough T3, then the reverse T3 says, okay, no more T3. You don't want to get overloaded. All right. But if you get out of control, too high reverse T3, it can block almost all the T3.
Oh, man.
And now you're going to be tired.
Right.
So, and it's easy to fix if you have high reverse T3. We know that Siberian ginseng can bring your reverse T3 down. And so that's something to keep in mind. And maybe to ask, if you're going to go to all this trouble to get these tests done, be sure to ask your doctor, when you test my thyroid hormones, please also test reverse T3.
Okay.
Right?
That's a good one.
Now, the other is adrenals.
Yes.
And adrenal glands make many hormones, and you can become very, very tired to the point where you can be so exhausted you won't even be able to get out of bed.
Adrenal
if
fatigue.
You have a bad situation with adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
So now getting the adrenal test done from your doctor, very important. They'll be able to see the rise and fall of your adrenal hormones over time.
Yes.
Because adrenal hormones go in cycles with the day and the evening, and sometimes they get reversed.
Yes.
Sometimes they get low, sometimes they get high. All right. And you want to make sure that you know those cycles and you know the complete story with your adrenal hormones. Adrenal hormones also interface and affect the thyroid and vice versa. That's why you want to have both those tests done together.
Okay.
All right. Now, the other thing we hear, Rollie, is that when people are fatigued, quite often they go, well, I'm going to get my testosterone shot. Right? I'm really tired, but I got my testosterone shot and I feel great. So these are additional hormones to pay attention to.
Right.
These are the sex hormones, so to speak, which starts with pregnenolone, which is a master hormone that then cascades down two different sides. On one side, it's going to make cortisol. Right?
Yes.
And on the other side is where you begin to make androtestosterone, free testosterone, estrogen, etc.
Right.
DHEA. And so you need to be able to see that whole thing, because quite often people have what's called pregnenolone steal, meaning to steal
Right.
something.
You're taking something.
So you have pregnenolone, you might have plenty of it,
Right.
but you're low in testosterone. It's because all the pregnenolone is getting used up to make cortisol because of stress.
Okay. Yeah,
Right?
because cortisol, when you're stressed, your hormone of stress is cortisol, right?
Yeah, it's one of them,
Well,
but it's the one that is stealing all of the pregnenolone.
It's taking all the good stuff that
Right,
you'd use
that
for the
you
other
would
things.
use to make DHEA
Testosterone
and
that stuff.
testosterone.
Makes sense.
And so quite often, just getting a shot of testosterone will help you feel better, but it's not solving the core of the problem.
Which is the stealing.
Right. And so with your help from your doctor, getting all of these tests, your CRP, your A1C, your D3, your iron, your thyroid with reverse T3,
Right.
your adrenals, and your complete hormone
panel,
profile.
right.
And it's different for men and women.
Right.
And so it's a complete female hormone profile, complete male hormone profile.
Definitely different.
With all of that information, you probably can get on top of what the issue is with your energy from a biochemical standpoint.
Now, that's just one standpoint.
That's one.
But
one
that's a
part.
very important part.
Yep. Now the other part is is people are human beings that evolved on planet Earth in light.
Right.
We evolved with food and nutrients. We evolved with pulsed electromagnetic fields that are coming both from the sun and from the core of the earth. So, for example, those pulses from the core of the earth are affecting the dilation of your capillaries to let nutrients through. Okay? And then also we evolved in an atmosphere that filters light so we don't get scorched.
Right. We don't burn up.
Also, in the air is oxygen. Now, the air has other gases in addition, but our body is breathing in the totality of the air, and it's utilizing the oxygen,
Right.
Without which you'd have no energy at all.
No.
You wouldn't be alive.
You would not be here.
So they say that the average person can live for 5 or 6 days without water, and 30 to 60 days with no food, but only 5 minutes with no oxygen.
Yeah. See.
So your breath and the ability for you to utilize oxygen along with, making hemoglobin and powering it with iron is very, very important to do. So these are the other things to take into consideration. So with light, all right, very important to get light during the day. Most people stay inside all the time.
Yeah, they're working in an office or whatever the case
And
is.
so we like to say, Rollie, that if you're sitting at your office desk, every half hour, you want to get up, go outside, focus on something that's green, and focus on gratitude.
Right. Those are the triggers.
And so that's what you and I try to do. Sit at your desk for a while, get some work done, get up, go outside, and you see me walking outside all the time.
Matter of fact, yesterday before the podcast, Bob came in from a phone call, And he has a little perspiration coming down his face. I said, well, what the heck were you doing? He goes, well, I was on the phone. I was like, oh, right. Yeah.
And it was 82 degrees out in February.
In February in Florida.
Yeah.
Everybody else is frozen over in Texas. Their power grid's down, but Bob's over here walking for 20 minutes and perspiring because we've got energy.
That's it.
That's it. We got the energy.
Now, speaking of which, the other aspects of energy is your life force energy.
You beat me to it. That's what I was just getting to. The chi.
The flow of chi through your body. Some people know it as acupuncture meridians, right?
Yep.
But you can increase the flow of chi and energy through your body through exercises like Tai Chi or Qigong.
Right.
And very, very valuable type of activity to participate in to increase your body's energy.
Yeah, and you were talking about the chi points. When we do our tapping, that's kind of what we're doing, is we're tapping into that idea of your life force energy.
Exactly right. And lastly on this topic is the energy that you are manufacturing in the form of an electromagnetic field.
Yes.
Which your brain produces an electromagnetic field and your heart produces one that's way stronger.
Right. We were talking about it. When you are in a state of gratitude, that radius of your heart love energy is actually doubled from about 5 to 10 feet.
It is, and it also changes the type of pulse.
Correct.
So you can have a very positive effect on other people when you're in their presence, depending on your state of mind and the state of the metabolic pathway that includes your heart muscle and your mind.
Right. Your amygdala.
And so this is why from the HeartMath Institute that makes the Inner Balance device.
Right. We've talked about that device before many times. Definitely check it out.
This helps with your energy because it's got a clip on your ear and a transponder and a cell phone app. You can sync your breath to this mandala that's shrinking and growing. And you focus on gratitude.
Right.
And it changes the way that your heart beats when you do this. Your heart is sending a neuronal signal to your amygdala in your brain, and your amygdala is deciding if things are okay or not okay based on that signal, and then it's conveying to your frontal part of your brain, hey, everything is okay. The frontal part of your brain communicates to your heart muscle, and on in a circle.
It's a big circle.
Right. Now, when you do that, that has a positive effect on your adrenals. Because when you're of the opinion that everything's okay, which is when you're in a state of gratitude, right, the signal that is being then received by a second metabolic pathway that it controls your adrenals is very different. Your adrenals will act differently based on how well you can stay focused on gratitude. So, and they say the longer you linger in gratitude, the better off your physical health is. And the more you draw your new life to you. So most people have goals and dreams about the future. And the longer you linger in gratitude, the more those dreams are drawn to you.
Right. You're creating your own reality. We actually kind of talked about that a little bit with Lucy in A New Perspective. That was the name of the show, A New Perspective with Lucy. And we talk about how really your thoughts are what create your reality. And then having the energy to achieve that is what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and the ability to attract it.
Right.
And so very important.
All energy.
This pulse coming off of your heart muscle. It's very important to understand all of the mechanics of it, how it works, and what you do to make improvements. And that Inner Balance device from HeartMath is the fastest and easiest way to get there because it's using technology to help you get there quickly. And Rollie, what happened the very first time you used it?
Well, it was funny. Bob got him. He actually got everybody at the office one. And he, before he had gotten his delivery of all of them, he had me use his. And I think the first time I did it, I was able to focus on the gratitude. And I think my score was
6.5.
6.5. It was astronomical for the first time.
Usually when people do it for the first time, it's between 1 and 1.2.
Yes.
And Rollie used it and took a moment to calm down because Rollie is working all the time on 16 different projects,
true. I got
and his
everything.
mind is racing.
It's true.
And as soon as he put that clip on his ear and used the device for 5 minutes, he was in a totally, completely different state of mind.
It was almost instantaneously.
His heart muscle was beating completely differently with more variability, and he was in this very calm-looking state that I don't think I'd ever seen him in before.
No, it really does. And I have to say, it blew me away because when I did it and I got the score, I was like, hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty neat. I don't know. It was the first time I did it. So I showed it to Bob, and Bob goes, what the heck? How did you do that? I was like, I did what you said. I focused on the mandala and thought of things to be grateful for, like my daughter and my wife, and then the aspects of them. I love my daughter. I love when I wake up in the morning and my daughter says, I love you. I love the way my wife's hair smells. These little things that make that elicit the emotion of love and gratefulness, and it really completely changes the mind heart connection. It's a real thing.
And with Inner Balance, you get to watch it happen on your cell phone.
And then you get a score, and you get to look at your past ones, and it's really cool. It gives you a consistent scorecard. I have to say, is a very neat product.
It's really cool. So, the whole point of the matter is this helps you to produce a pulsed electromagnetic field from your heart muscle that has an effect on all the people you come in contact with.
Right.
So you want to choose how you want to be. How do you want to show up in the world? Do you want to show up without the ability to change the way your heart beats, or do you want to show up randomly? And this is a very purposeful way to help improve yourself and improve the world by changing the way your heart muscle is beating with more variability.
You get to be the change you want to see.
So now, Rollie, the other one we'd mentioned briefly is hydration. Some people are with a lack of energy simply because they're dehydrated.
Yeah, I have to say, before I started working here, I would actually drink a lot more coffee and a lot more soda, and I didn't quite realize that is something that is severely an issue. And then obviously you grow up, you hear, drink water, drink this much water, but if you're not paying attention and you're not drinking the water, it's really easy to go a day or two with only drinking a bottle or two of water. And after that second or third day without water, man, you get a headache. I get low energy, obviously low energy, but it leads to a whole lot of other issues. And it's just simple as drinking a glass of water, man. Consistent every day.
Very important one to remember. Now, another thing, Rollie, that's very important about energy is what it is that you're participating in on a day-to-day basis in regard to what you really want to do with your life, right? Are you actually following along with your heart's desire and your life path? And do you even know that? So a lot of people are working in jobs for many, many, many years that they don't really like, and it's making them depressed, and it's making them tired. And even when work is over, it's hard for them to participate in what they really want to do.
Yeah.
And so this is an important thing for people to be able to meditate, discuss, and spend time documenting who they really want to be and what they really want to do with their life. And set priorities and goals and timelines for when you're going to change this, or this. I'm working with a person right now where I'm helping him with a 2-month timeline where these 5 things are going to happen in his life during the next 2 months. And I'm helping him to draw that new self and new circumstances to draw it to him.
Right.
And so it's a really good thing to have this documented. And one of the best ways to do it is with the planner, the booklet planner that's put out by Brendan Burchard.
Yes, actually, we went over that, and if you guys want to check that out a little bit, in the show we did called Habits to Help Seize the Day.
Yeah.
It was in that, and we kind of show it to you guys. And again, the gentleman's name is Brendan Burchard.
Yeah, and that's a really valuable device that helps you to examine what you really want to do, and then each morning document how you're going to show up based on answering questions, and then giving yourself an evaluation at the end of the day.
Right.
And if not, and you just kind of sludge along, not really doing what you're supposed to be doing here on Earth for you personally, you're going to end up being depressed, and you're going to end up engaging in avoidance strategies.
Yeah. A lot of people fall into the traps like alcohol. You know, is one of
Alcohol,
them.
smoking,
Right.
And mindless eating.
Oh, yeah.
Too much sugar. It's
Yeah,
very
cool.
easy to get addicted to sugar and smoking and alcohol.
And what that does is it gives you, in your mind, it's like a break, a release, a relief from it. But really, all you're doing is just turning into something else that's not going to make you any healthier. It's actually going to make it worse. Feels like you're getting away, but you're not.
Yep. And so we're going to talk in a minute, Raleigh, about some tapping exercises you can do.
Yeah.
And some habit exercises you can do.
That'll help with that, help manage it.
But just before we do that, I also wanted to say this. Quite often, people get caught up in other people's agenda.
Yes.
So, and with the onset of technology and email, it's gotten worse.
Yes.
So people will wake up in the morning, they'll check their cell phone texts and any phone messages, and they'll check their email, and immediately they're in the realm of responding to other people's requests.
Yeah, before they even figure out what they need for themselves for that day.
Right. And so people need to learn to say no to this, and to say no to the people that that may have gotten used to you responding immediately.
Right. It's not no forever. It's just wait, give me a minute.
It's let me take my time to set my goals for the day and spend the first hour working on those
Right.
before I go to someone else's agenda.
Right.
Right. And so that's a very, very important thing in this day and age, because most people are working off of someone else's agenda.
Yeah.
And they are also living off of yesterday's thoughts and worries and issues from the past.
It's true.
Rather than a vision of the future.
Right. Now,
Or
of course.
a vision of the now moment. Living in the now moment with a vision for the future being where they're moving towards, rather than being dragged down by memories of the past, as Dr. Joe Dispenza would say. Don't be dragged down by memories of the past.
Nope.
Live from a vision of the future.
Right. And I basically was going to say, I completely agree. And sometimes you don't even realize it's occurring. Like sometimes I'll walk into the office here and I won't even be in my office, and I'll have Gene, well, like we talked in the last show, Gene's like a 84-year-old, 12-year-old. So he sees me, hey, Rollie, I got a question. Well, wait a minute, Gene. I just walked in the door. You know, like sometimes it's presented to you and you're almost no other choice but to take care of it at that second. And that's when you need to take that minute and say, no, listen, I'll be able to help you, but I have to get this taken care of first. I'll be right back. And I have a hard time doing that sometimes. I do. I want to help people. I have the energy to help people. So people see that and they draw off my energy and they want my help, and that's fine. But you got to remember to use some of that energy for yourself. Because if you don't, you aren't going to make it. You're not going to get to where you need to be with your goals. And that's the key.
Yep. So, Raleigh, let's talk a little bit about tapping in habits.
Of course.
All right.
Love that.
So on the side of the habits first,
Yes.
one of the things that people have the biggest problem with, because we see it in the statistics, is maintaining their ideal body weight and developing habits to help them do that.
Right.
So one of the habits, for example, is people will come home from work. They'll come through the doorway of their house, set their stuff down, and go to the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah.
And quite often, what they might do is grab something to drink that is not a healthy drink. It could be soda pop, beer, whatever, that another sugary drink that immediately is going to be detrimental to their overall health. And when you do it day after day, year after year, now you're one of those 60%.
Right.
And so what would be great is to break that habit.
Yep.
And you want to make it easy to break the habit.
Right.
So when people open up their refrigerator, it's usually very easy to grab the drink that they really like because they put it right in the front.
Not only that, but that's what they're used to.
Yes. And so now what people can do is say, all right, I'm going to have lemon water.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have either your lemon water already prepared,
right,
or a little dish with some fresh lemon and a bottle of water that's right at eye level, the easiest thing to grab.
Mm-hmm. Make it most accessible.
And the stuff that you know you want to break the habit of,
either get rid of it,
or push it to the side where it's hard to get.
Right.
Put it in the back of the refrigerator.
Right. Sometimes it's hard for people to get rid of it altogether because it's like, well, if it's not there, I don't feel comfortable. Well, just get a little bottle of soda, like one of them little ones, and put it all the way in the back.
Put it all the way in the back. Now, when you arrive home, right, this is the A of the ABC of tiny habits.
Absolutely.
So you're coming through the door, and this is an anchoring event,
right,
or an event where you're going to take action.
Right. It's an action. It's an event that's going to trigger you into action.
And the B in the ABC is the new behavior.
Right.
In this case, the new behavior is I'm going to grab the lemon water from the refrigerator.
Right. That is the new behavior we are going to instill that has been triggered by the anchoring event.
And now you're going to do it.
Now we're doing it.
Okay, so now you do it, and the C is celebrate. Okay? The C is celebrate, and whatever you want to do to celebrate, pat yourself on the back.
Pour the water over your head. Whatever
Something
it is.
crazy. Right? Something crazy.
Something that you'll remember,
now,
so you'll want to do it again.
Right. And this is the idea. This is, behavioral science.
101.
Right? Whatever you celebrate, you tend to do more.
Right. Just like the Buccaneers scoring touchdowns.
After touchdown.
After touchdown. We're going to Gronk spike it everywhere. But anyway,
that's
sorry.
the celebration.
Right, that's it.
Gronk spiking the ball in the end zone. It's a celebration. We're more likely to have it happen again.
Don't do that with the glass of water. Don't do that.
So this is ABC.
Right.
And this can help to instill new habits.
Correct.
Right?
And it really, it's something that I know we talk about it a lot, but this is something that is studied, proven. These are actual things. It's not just woo-woo stuff. This is stuff if you actually really take it seriously and make a solemn commitment, then you're going to be able to hit that goal. But without it, don't worry about it. Don't even try it, So...
And there's a great book if people want to also read it, in addition to Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. There's another great book. Its title is Discipline Equals Freedom.
Ooh.
And written by Jocko Willink.
Okay.
And so those are two really great books to help with this type of thing. And Rollie, lastly, before we finish up today, let's talk about the emotional freedom technique and how it can help us with our goals as well and to create pattern interrupts.
Right.
Okay.
It's the key.
So let's say that you are somebody that has an avoidance strategy. Okay. And the avoidance strategy is you are drinking too much alcoholic beverages because you're feeling depressed and this makes you feel better.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is a belief that you have that says, I'll feel better if I drink. However, I know that I would rather drink less because I know it's better for my health. But because I'm feeling depressed, I just keep doing it day after day. Right? So using the emotional freedom technique, we can begin to change that belief.
Okay.
Right? And we're going to do it by tapping on our fingertips. We talked about the chi before.
Right. We're going to tap into that energy.
So you use the middle finger of your right hand, for example, tap on your thumbnail on the side of your nail about 5 times, and then tap on your index finger and so on about 5 times on each finger, and just begin tapping. There's no magic to the number of times, but try to hit all of those. Your meridians terminate in the tips of your fingers. So then you're going to repeat a phrase that's going to help now to disable a belief you have and to install a new belief. And in the case of drinking too much alcohol because you're depressed, it could sound something like this.
Okay.
All right. And so you're going to tap and you're going to say like this: even though up until now I thought that I had to continue to drink too much alcohol because of this depression thing. I completely love and accept myself. And I'm so grateful now that I realize I can interrupt this pattern of drinking too much. I can actually find myself being very peaceful by coming home, doing some meditation, going for a walk, or some other type of exercise, and feel at complete peace. Okay? Then at the end of this tapping, cross your hands on your heart and breathe in and let your breath out. Drop your chin down to your chest while you're breathing out and sit quietly. So we're going to do a whole show, Rollie, just on the emotional freedom technique.
Correct.
And people will get to learn a lot more about it. But just in general for today, a little tidbit about it. That is a really great way to interrupt patterns and install new beliefs that can help you in any of the different ways that you need to make changes in your life.
That's awesome.
And so this is probably about the end, Rollie. We're getting to the end of
close.
Today. And
one thing I just kind of was thinking as we were talking about this, a phrase came to my mind. You know, one of the things that they say is you got to have energy. You know, you don't have energy. The reality is you create it. And it's created by what you put in yourself and what you do. So just remember, you can't have energy unless you create it. So let's do what we can. And I think that show should help.
Very good. Thank you, Rollie, for being here with us today. And thank you to everybody for listening to Live Forever Young Radio and watching, if you're watching on video. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.